p.m. each Sunday, and if you can't make it, you can hear us right here on Crossover Radio. You can also join us for worship and prayer each Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. City Life exists to glorify God by making disciples and doing good in Jesus' name. We are here for Bethany and for the Northwest Oklahoma City communities. We're excited about the opportunity to serve you and your family.
Would your business, organization, or ministry like to connect with our listeners? Crossover Radio is seeking amazing like-minded partnerships to impact our community. Crossover Radio has cheap and affordable sponsorship packages available now. Call us at 405-494-0234 so we can help connect you with thousands of listeners every week right here on Crossover Radio. Again, that number is 405-494-0234. Call us today.
Tired of taking up a seat in church or just watching a production? Join us Sunday at West Metro Community Church in Yukon, a place where your life matters and you are more than a number.
We are located at 601 West Main Street in Yukon, and our worship service is at 10:45 on Sunday. For additional information on our student ministry, men's, women's, and mixed small group Bible studies throughout the week, find our information at www.westmetro.org.
Come be a part of a church where all are welcome.
Crossover Radio, radio with a purpose.
Hey, newly engaged couples, are you tired of the same ho-hum, boring wedding reception every weekend? Don't you want yours to be the party everyone's talking about 3 months later? Then give us a call today at BTP Productions. We offer online planning forms, the best OKC DJs, lighting and sound packages, ceremony packages, and anytime consultations. We put you in total control of your party so you get your reception your way. Call us today at 405-609-9980. That's 405-609-9980. Or find us on Facebook. That's BTP Productions. The right music, the right DJ equals BTP Productions. Call today.
Crossover Radio is the best station I have ever listened to, even over other Christian stations. They are such a blessing. God uses this radio station that God started through the DJs and everyone on there to bless us and to show us Him.
Do you love coffee? Does your church, office, or business need coffee? What about getting amazing quality coffee at home from a business that serves our community and the world? Grounds for Compassion can meet your needs. The amazing staff at Grounds for Compassion would love to connect with you. There are 14 varieties, so you can't go wrong. Check out Grounds for Compassion on Facebook, Instagram, or at g4c.coffee, where you can place your order. Grounds for Compassion, coffee with conviction.
Crossover Radio, radio with a purpose.
All right, this is 3rd&1 Live on your Friday morning drive. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yes. Good morning to everyone out there. Man, it's another Friday here over at Crossover Radio. We are excited for 3rd&1 this morning as we get started. A lot to talk about this morning. Kind of a lot happened this past week and a lot going down this week in the sports world. So if you're listening, if you're joining in, we are excited this morning, and we are so pumped that you are tuning in to listen to us. So, Evan, my man.
It's good to have you back. Feeling better?
Yeah. Still got kind of some funk going on health-wise, but definitely feeling better than I was Monday. So, just kind of that time of the year where some things happening. I know a lot of my teacher friends are coming down with strep and all that jazz. So, man. Yeah, be careful out there, health-wise,
Yes.
Wash those hands, all that good stuff. So,
most definitely. Well, it's good to have you back, man. And, ton of sports to talk about and a ton of things to kind of get into because there's a little thing called Bedlam going on this weekend. And,
yeah, man.
Super, super excited about that, ready for the game to happen.
Yeah, game day is going to be down in Stillwater. So I know a lot of OSU fans are super pumped for that. I expect there to be some absolutely hilarious signs of Baker Mayfield. So he's even said that he's kind of like expecting that. So that's gonna be funny. I hope he makes some jokes about that afterwards, because it's kind of like, you've played this way all season, kind of had some history. So I think now it's kind of the time that you get to own up to that and just.
Well, and the funny thing is for Baker is that, I don't know if you saw this, but yesterday I saw a report that he came out and said basically he doesn't care if people hate him. And I think he said something to the degree of he would hate him too if it was on another team. He was like, I get it. I get why they hate me. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't care.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the how the OU community feels too. Like you understand that you would hate a player like that. He's just so animated on the field. So, I mean, he's gonna talk trash. He's gonna make the big scene after the game because he's pumped about winning. So, but he said, my guys love me, and so that's the thing. Like, like you want him on your team too. I mean, almost every sports analyst that broadcasts just compliments the fire that he plays with and the way he plays the game and the moxie he has. So, it is that thing. You either love him or you hate him. And most teams that play against him hate him. So, and then most Sooner fans love him. So it's kind of one of those scenarios. But man, he's a great football player, and he is fun to watch. So we only have, if you're an OU fan or even just a college football fan, here's a guy that has been in the top 5 in the Heisman. Every single year he's been at OU, and so that run is coming to a close. And so if you're a college football fan, and especially an OU fan, sit back and enjoy the show, and all that it is in the animation on the field and in the way he plays the game. Enjoy the show that is Baker Mayfield for the next, few weeks that we get to see him in college football before he heads to the NFL. So,
I agree. It's going to be it's going to continue to be a lot of fun just to see how the rest of the year plays out. As long as they're winning. If they're not winning, it's not going to be a lot of fun. Just how it is.
And I mean, I don't have a ton of confidence in just about anything going on right now.
No.
As long as the defense is playing the way they've been playing in the past, and it is going to be, definitely a scenario where, you just can't have any confidence, because until they can step up and make some stops, man, it's no games given. So
I completely agree with you. Man, so let's go ahead and we got to open up with some Bedlam talk. All right, let's do a little evaluation here. Where do you see the biggest glaring difference on both sides of the ball? So for hey, this particular team is so much better than the other team at this particular area, position, whatever you want to call it. But it can't be as broad as just offense, defense.
I
mean, something specific like the line, the receivers, the running backs, the quarterback, all this kind of stuff. Where do you see the biggest glaring differences for both teams?
So I think if you're thinking in general, you're obviously thinking, OSU's defense, I'm going to give the edge to OSU, obviously.
Really?
Yeah.
You think that's a big glaring?
No, I don't think it's a big one.
All right, big. Okay.
I'm talking about in general. You said, not talking offense, defense. Now we're going to get down into position groups for sure. So, a big glaring, and there's not a ton that are huge glaring, but I would say some that have the biggest difference. I would say OU's offensive line is much, much better than OSU's offensive line. And they're kind of piecing some pieces together after they've had some injury. And so their offensive line group is getting back to being better. It's not what it was against a TCU team when their offensive line was kind of just decimated by injuries. They're getting some guys back. Yeah. And so the line is improving. But, I mean, when you're looking at it, OU probably has a top 5 offensive line in the country. Yeah. It really is one of their strengths.
Some people still, and people who are pretty critical of the team, still says it's the best in the country.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. Like you have a team that's probably just average, an average offensive line, maybe even slightly better than average in OSU, and really it is a great offensive line on the OU side. Now, the same exact thing could be said about their wide receiver position because OSU has an absolutely elite, I think, the best group of wide receivers in the country, and then OU. They have some talent there. You know, they have a young freshman in Cedarian Lamb. They have Marquise Brown coming on. But really, it's not even comparable because the OSU wide receiver core is that good. And so it's kind of the same scenario there where you have these are really elite groups in OU's offensive line and OSU's wide receivers. And then you kind of just have the average players. And that's good. That's what you want going into Bedlam. You don't want one group to have this glaring weakness. The next I would say, as far as just where I would give edges to different teams, because now I think that those two are the biggest, gap in terms of talent between the two. I would say OU's offensive line, OSU's wide receivers. Now, as far as just giving the edge to different teams, I'm going to take OSU's secondary. The linebackers, I'm giving a wash. I think those are pretty even.
Well, when OU's linebackers are not playing inspired, when they're not playing like they care, yes, I agree.
Yeah, defensive line, I'm going to give the slight edge to OSU. Running backs, I think Justice Hill is probably the best running back of the group, but I think OU has more depth. I think
more
that
talent.
So I think Justice Hill probably has the most talent out of all those guys. He's just more electric player and more consistent player. But like I said, as far as like a running back unit, I'm going to give that edge to Oklahoma just because they're going to roll three guys out there that can pretty much. And with the line, it's going to be like OU is going to be able to run the football on Oklahoma State. I have no doubt about it. That's how it's been the last 2 years, and I feel like Mike Gundy's kind of had this idea that Baker Mayfield's going to come out and just throw all over him, and he has to since. But really, what has won Bedlam the past 2 years is Oklahoma's run game and being able to finish games. So we'll see if that plays a role this year, or if OSU is going to be able to crack down on the run. And then so I think that's. I mean, you're looking at this game. It's like any other Big 12 game. It's going to be who can have the defensive stand, who can stop guys on third downs, who can hold teams to field goals. So yeah, it really is going to be. That's all about. Let's get to some of those groups that you think.
I mean, definitely the O line is probably the biggest glaring difference for OU. The receivers, maybe, but I'm going to tell you, CeeDee Lamb, Badette. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember the number 5.
Marquise Brown.
Yeah. They're no slouches. It might actually be the secondary. As young as OSU's secondary is, OU's secondary, outside of Motley, is just bad.
Yeah, they haven't played well this year at all. And they have probably the bigger names. Like Jordan Thomas was supposed to be.
Parker.
Yeah.
Stephen Parker's doing okay this year.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Thomas and Stephen Parker are both 3-year starters. And they're probably having one of the, out of the 3 years that they've started, it's probably been one of the most subpar seasons they've had. So.
Yeah, and I just I think that might, as bad as to say this, I think that might actually be the bigger difference. And if you want to throw Mark Andrews into the receiving core mix, then that helps them tremendously even out that gap between them and OSU receivers. I don't think the gap between the receivers at OSU and the receivers total at OU, again, if you're including tight ends, I don't think the gap is that big.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So you're talking about the gap and really the tight end position. Yeah, I think that I forgot to even.
Tremendous upside to OU.
Yeah, definitely.
And I agree with you about the running backs. I think that Justice Hill maybe is the best one, although their stud King really showed up last week. And I know a buddy of mine who's a big OSU fan. He's like, why isn't this guy starting? Because here's the thing. He gives you that, I'm going to hit you in the mouth. I may not be able to run it off for a home run like what Justice Hill can. Like, kind of like, it's really the Abdul Adams effect, right?
Yeah,
It's Abdul Adams isn't always going to get you consistently 3 or 4 yards, but you know what? He could break it off for 99. And that same thing with Justice Hill is he's not going to get you 2 or 3 yards every time, or 3 or 4 yards every time, but he's going to break it off for a 99 in a heartbeat. So you always have to respect that. But on the flip side, you don't always get those 3 or 4 yards. And for them, I know that at least for some, at least for my buddy, he was a little bit confused as to why King is not getting at least more time, and I think he really wants him to start because he's always going to get you at 3 or 4 yards. And so instead of being in a 3rd and 9, instead of being in a 3rd and 8 or 7, you're in a 3rd and 3, a 3rd and 4. It's manageable. You have options. And so I think that was something that was his point. I think it's a good point. I just, man, I don't know. I think Justice Hill probably is the most talented, though, out of all those running backs. But I do think, I'm with you, I think that OU's collective core is better. Especially with the way that I can only say that because of how Rodney Anderson has played the last 3 weeks or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Rodney Anderson has played just as well as anyone in the country the last 3 weeks. I mean, he has really done well. So yeah, I mean, I think J.D. King was very impressive the last few. They're playing West Virginia. I think West Virginia has a decent defense, and so you're right. I think that it is like a complementary back system there, where you have a guy in Justice Hill who I really feel like is able to get skinny, get through some smaller holes, and break off a couple big runs. And he's been the guy there. I know he kind of got banged up last week, but he came back in the game, so I don't think Oklahoma State, you have to worry about that. I know. I'm already hearing a lot of excuses from Oklahoma State fans about how Justice Hill is injured, and how Mason Rudolph is injured. But I mean, they both came back in the game last week, so I think it's kind of more of that they're both banged up, and it's week 9 in college football. I mean, there's several people that are banged up right now. Even Baker Mayfield's kind of dealing with the shoulder stinger going on from the Texas game. So yeah, there's a couple storylines where some guys are banged up. You have Abdul Adams with the sprained ankle that he's been dealing with. You got Baker Mayfield, you got Mason Rudolph and Justice Hill. Several guys. Stephen Parker is dealing with some ankle injuries. So it's just that time of the season where some guys are getting banged up, and so I don't think we're really going to see that effect. I'm interested to see how it's going to affect Mason Rudolph specifically. I think he's the guy that, if you're looking at it, may be affected the most because he's had to miss some practice time this week. And obviously, when you're game planning for this type of game, those practice reps that you get are absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Because you're getting those defensive looks and really game planning against it. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how those take effect because, man, have you heard anything about that? Any
I haven't heard as much about the injuries on Rudolph, but I have heard people talking about how they are concerned regarding. At least I've heard one person that was talking about it as far as in the media, who was saying that they just don't think he's able to take pressure and hits as well as Mayfield is. Now we're not talking about overall skills. We're not talking about overall physical prowess or who's going to be a better NFL prospect. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is his ability to overcome bad situations and to overcome pressure, especially whenever he has D linemen breathing down his neck, which Obo will be breathing down his neck at times because his offensive line is terrible comparatively. Obo will be on his back, and once he gets taken down a couple of times, when he gets blindsided a couple of times, or he barely catches it right before he's about to go down, what's going to happen to Mason Rudolph? We know what happens with Baker Mayfield. For one, he feels a guy on his back a lot of times. I'm not saying it's every time, but a lot of times he gets out. And that's what they've talked about. This guy should have tons of sacks on the year, and he doesn't. Talking about Mayfield. Because he's really good about being able to escape. and I think he's really good under pressure overall. Now, sometimes he forces passes, but if we're talking about ability to escape pressure, he is better at that.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. Like, I know there's been some graphics out there by Pro Football Talk. I mean, he literally is number 1 in the country when facing pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, on every statistical category, he definitely is. I tell you what, I want to talk a little. I want to go a little more in depth to this game than we normally would.
Yeah,
I think this
definitely.
is a big game for a lot of our listeners. So if we roll to a break, let's do that. Then let's come back. Let's talk some just as far as Bedlam history, what's been happening in the past couple of years, why that's kind of gone poorly for Oklahoma State, and if that's going to change this year or if it's not. So. Let's. I think we can really dive into a couple different things.
Yeah, let's do that. We will definitely do that. We'll be right back after these short messages from our sponsors. Thank you so much for listening to 3rd&1 Live on your Friday morning drive. So glad to have you with us. If you're listening on the app, if you're listening on not Facebook, but if you're listening on YouTube Live, thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel yet, you need to check it out. You just search Crossover Radio, and in the upper right-hand corner, there's a filter button. Click Filter, click Channels. You'll be able to find it. It'll be one of the top 2 or 3 results. Crossover Radio. You'll see the logo. You'll see some headphones laying down on a table. It's a really, really nice logo. But you need to check it out. Go subscribe. That way you can always know, hey, the videos are coming up. It'll give you notifications whenever videos are coming up. It's a really, really, really cool thing. You need to check it out, though. Definitely do that. We'd appreciate that. And lastly, if you are able, whether you're in the car, whether you are just sitting at home, you're sitting at your work, when you are at a stopping point, okay, and that includes when you're driving. Don't do this while you're driving, but when you are at a stopping point and you are at your destination, if you would share the video with your family and friends. There are ways to share it from YouTube on your Facebook, Twitter, and so on. Would really, really appreciate that very much. Thank you so much. Again, you're listening to 3rd&1 Live, and we will be right back after these short messages.
City Life Community Church is the proud home of Crossover Radio. We are located at 6634 Northwest 36th Street, right here in the heart of Bethany. You can join us for worship at 11 a.m. each Sunday, and if you can't make it, you can hear us right here on Crossover Radio. You can also join us for worship and prayer each Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. City Life exists to glorify God by making disciples and doing good in Jesus' name. We are here for Bethany and for the Northwest Oklahoma City communities. We're excited about the opportunity to serve you and your family.
Would your business, organization, or ministry like to connect with our listeners? Crossover Radio is seeking amazing like-minded partnerships to impact our community. Crossover Radio has cheap and affordable sponsorship packages available now. Call us at 405-494-0234 so we can help connect you with thousands of listeners every week right here on Crossover Radio. Again, that number is 405-494-0234. Call us today.
Tired of taking up a seat in church or just watching a production? Join us Sunday at West Metro Community Church in Yukon, a place where your life matters and you are more than a number.
We are located at 601 West Main Street in Yukon, and our worship service is at 1045 on Sunday. For additional information on our student ministry, men's, women's, and mixed small group Bible studies throughout the week, find our information at www.westmetro.org.
Come be a part of a church where all are welcome.
Crossover Radio. Radio with a purpose.
All right. Welcome back. It is 3rd&1 Live. We are pumped for this morning. Oh, we about to drop here? I think we're about to drop. Oh, yes. We are live this morning over on YouTube Live. Hey, if you're listening in, I know the YouTube chat is a little different. It's a little different than Facebook. That's what you guys have been used to in the past for some of our regular listeners. So, yeah, sign in live there on YouTube and comment in. Let us know what you think about Bedlam going on this week. If you're listening to YouTube Live, man, I'm just so used to saying that at this point.
I know, me too.
So that's going to take a little bit to switch over to. But if you're listening in on YouTube Live, and you're thinking, man, I really want to sign into this. I don't really want to sign in to make a comment here. Hey, you can always text us, man. You can text us at 405-494-0234. That is 405-494-0234. Man, I see that right on the computer. I'll definitely read what some of our conversations are going on here. If you have some interest in Bedlam and anything going on with the Thunder this week, or with NFL or any other NCAA, we're gonna be talking it all this week. So we're definitely getting through a lot this morning, but we're pumped that you guys are joining in on the conversation this morning. So let's get back into it, man.
All right, you said you wanted to get a little bit more in depth and kind of look at some of the history of the game and things like that. So what do you want to touch on first?
Man, I think really just focusing on probably the last 3 or 4 years, because, I mean, if we're talking about this whole series, this is something Oklahoma fans, I mean, they hold over OSU's heads year in and year out.
Yes.
I mean, it's one of the most lopsided rivalries in college football. I mean, if you really look at the numbers, it is crazy what Oklahoma has been able to accomplish in the history of the series. So,
yes.
I don't want to get too far. I feel like OSU fans probably hear a ton about that, but let's go ahead and read off the overall record.
Okay, overall record, and we'll be fair with this. So OSU fans, just hang tight, okay? Oklahoma currently leads the series 86-18-7. Okay, 7 ties in this series, and this goes back to 1904. Okay?
Yeah.
1904, 86, 18, and 7. However, if we want to look at the last, let's back it up to the last tie. The last tie was 1992. Since the last tie, Oklahoma State has won 7. Okay? Since 1992, Oklahoma State has won 7. Oklahoma has won 17. So 17 and 7 in the last 24 games. So OU leads the series in the last 24 years. Okay, last 24 years, 17-7. Now we can talk about it, but I'm just letting you know that's still pretty lopsided.
Yeah, that's really, I think
It's not as lopsided as 86, 18 and 7. I will say that.
Yeah, and really in the last 10 years, I think they've won twice, right? Is that correct?
In the last 10 plus, they haven't won. So before 2011, which was Brandon Whedon, right? Before 2011, they had not won since 2002 and 2001, which they won back-to-back. This is really interesting. Look at how many times, though, that when OSU won, they won back-to-back, okay? 1944-45, 1965-66, 1997-98, and 2001-2002. They won back-to-back. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's usually when they do win. It's
and then 1932-33.
Yep.
In fact, they had a stretch run where they either tied or won for 6 years. So 1929 they tied, 1930 Oklahoma, and this is when it was Oklahoma A&M. Oklahoma A&M won, 31 tie, 32 win, 33 win, 34 tie, and that was for OSU, previously known as Oklahoma A&M. That is really interesting to me. Really, really interesting to me. They definitely had a stretch run there where they were pretty dominant, and then the 3 years before that, Oklahoma still only won once. They tied again in 1 year in 26, and then won in 27. So they've been pretty dominant in that span of time. And from 1995 to 2002, they were really dominant. They won 5 out of 8. But last 10, last 12, actually last 13. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Last 14. They've only won twice.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
And this, I mean, the past 10 years, the competitiveness has obviously gone up. I think Oklahoma State fans, you all know that. But as far as like the outcome, the past 10 years is really I mean, it's the average of what is happened in this series that you're looking about 2 wins for Oklahoma State to out of every 10 games, and that's what the numbers kind of equal to, and so and like I said, the competitiveness has gone up. I mean, every single year. I know I've looked forward to this game. Some of the scores here in the past 5 years.
I was looking at the scores too myself.
Yeah, Oklahoma 38 in 2016. Oklahoma State 20. That one was the last 2 years have kind of gone away. They really have gone Oklahoma's way. 2015, Oklahoma 58. Oklahoma State 23. And then in 2014 was the last time that Oklahoma State won. That was when you had the repunt to Tyreek Hill, who's killing it in the NFL right now. Really that special teams danger and super fast. So they went into Norman, won 38-35. So very, very close game. Now you're kind of getting into those really competitive games. 2013, Oklahoma State Oklahoma won 33-24. And then 2012, here's another really competitive one.
That was a crazy game.
Yeah.
That's the overtime game, right?
Yep. Overtime, that's actually, no, I think 2013. Yeah. No, you're right. 2012, Brendan Clay running it in overtime. That score, 51.
That was when the Belldozer was in full force, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
2012, Oklahoma 51, Oklahoma State 48. And then the 2011, the other time that Oklahoma State won in the past 17 years. This was the Landry Jones year. This is when they had Brandon Whedon, had who's the receiver? Blackman.
Yes.
Yeah, their good year that they went and played Stanford in the bowl game, and won their Big 12 title.
Too.
Yeah, Kendall Hunter. Yeah, a really good Oklahoma State team. And they won 44 to Oklahoma 10, which has probably been one of the most lopsided in the past 7 years.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't realize we shut them out in 2009. That just seems so long ago.
And it seems so unreal at this point.
Yeah, just looking at Oklahoma State.
I cannot imagine A, an Oklahoma defense shutting someone out, or B, an Oklahoma State offense getting shut out.
That's funny because that's probably back when why can I not ever think of the guy that's at Clemson, Brent Venables.
Oh yeah,
he was here in 2009, right?
He was.
And last time we got a shutout, but that is kind of like an anomaly for this game in the past 20 years to shut out a team. So
yeah, it's just super rare. Like holding someone to a few points, okay, but shutting someone out, that's a different story.
Yeah, it's not like that was on Venables because the year after and the year before Oklahoma State scored 40 points. So it's not like, oh, here's this huge trend of when Venables was here, he was holding Oklahoma State. Now they've been pretty great on the offensive side for really the last 10 years collectively. That was kind of just a crazy time when they were shut out. So
yeah.
Okay.
So let me just point something out real quick. Just this is a side note. I know it's a rabbit trail. We don't have to go down it. I just want to point it out. People want to talk about how teams nowadays are so offensive heavy compared to how it used to be in the good old days. And teams used to just win 20-0 and it was good enough. Or 14-0, it was good enough. Well, let me just bring up these scores to you from the very first few meetings back in 1904 and 1907. 1904, Oklahoma won 75-0. That's still the largest victory in this entire series. 75-0. And then in 1907, they followed that up with now they had a game between that. They won 23-0 in 1906. But 1907, 67-0. So just for all those people who want to say it used to be so much better whenever they would just, grind it out and they would just win by a few points and that was good enough. They didn't. They did grind it, but they ground it all over their faces. And they still would get a ton of points. So I don't want to hear about how there's so much offense now compared to what it was. Now they do pass it more. I get all that. But it's just, I'm kind of done with that. I'm kind of done with that whole the whole thing. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think the history of this matchup, like I said, it's pretty well known. We just want to give you some of those numbers. But yeah, it is one that has been relatively dominated by Oklahoma. And so with that, like I said, the narrative has changed. It's not like Oklahoma's just coming in here and dominating every single year.
Yeah.
They're still getting the win columns, but man, the competitiveness is really there each and every single year. And I mean, I know that like during those games, I've felt nervous every single time in the past 10 years going into this game. I've been anxious watching the game. I've thought that Oklahoma State could go ahead at any point in time in those games. And I actually went into Stillwater my freshman year, the year that Brandon Ween was there, and just absolutely watched Oklahoma State put a beat down on Oklahoma, and really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed sitting in the Oklahoma State student section and completely wearing all of my OU gear, and just, you know, they had some great words to say, so encouraging.
I bet they did.
Yeah, and so I mean, it was fun. That was college football. It was good. But yeah, so going into this, what we're getting at with this point is it is something that's been dominated, but the narrative has changed definitely in the past few years. And looking at those 2 years, I mean, that 10-year span, that really is Mike Gundy's career. You know, the past 10 years is when he's been there. And so he only has 2 wins. Now, it's kind of this new era, right, where Bob Stoops is no longer here. Is Lincoln Riley going to continue that trend? Are they going to continue to get the win columns and get everything stacked up? Or is it going to be a new narrative where you have, you know, the more experienced coach in Mike Gundy? Is he going to take over now? So it is kind of interesting to look at the history of it for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I think it's going to be an interesting deal. Kind of see how Lincoln Riley handles the pressure. I think he's shown already with the Ohio State game. And, you know, for anyone who's like, oh, you fans just keep living on that Ohio State game, I get it. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying what he showed in that particular game. Okay, I'm not trying to reference say OU is better because of that game. No, what I'm saying is what he showed in that game was that he can handle the pressure of a big-time situation at someone else's house.
Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, it's crazy that Baker Mayfield has not lost a true road game in his career at Oklahoma. That is insane to me. Like he's lost to Texas, you know, the neutral site games. He's lost some bowl games, but he has not lost an actual true road game in his career, which is crazy. I mean, that includes going into Stillwater. So yeah, I mean, it's something that he's kind of thrived on. He's talked about it time and time again that he loves going into a crowd and show. You know, that includes Tennessee, that includes Ohio State. So he's gone into some crazy places and won. And he said he enjoys, you know, kind of quieting the crowd and you know, getting that huge wave of momentum that teams get from their crowd to subside. And so that is wild. You know, we got to talk too, college football, the rankings that came out this past week.
Yes,
and
we
so,
do. We do need to talk those.
That's kind of big. We can do that when we get into the rest of you know, the NCAA and our picks. And
let's preview it real quick, because I think there's a couple that we're not gonna, you know, have any disagreement about.
Yeah.
And I want to get those out of the way before we go to our break. So we got a couple of minutes here for our break. So let's do this. Let's see here. I'm gonna pull it up. That way I make sure everything is up to snuff.
While you're pulling that up, we got a couple of YouTube comments that came in. Dana Parrish, my mother, said Sooners for the win. Go
right.
Mom, love that. And then Debbie Weir said, great, beautiful morning, my friends. Enjoy your Friday. Love watching and listening on YouTube. So we're glad you like that new platform.
Scroll down a little bit on that video. I want to see something because I added some stuff, and I want to see if it shows up.
Down here?
No. There should be a thing called a card that asks you to basically vote. Click the little 3-dot thing. By the flag.
Here we go.
No? All right.
Man, I don't know. Maybe if I refresh here.
Well, I don't know. I added some things called cards to where you can basically put a poll out there. People can vote on it. I just want to know what, you know, people's thoughts were. But that's all right. I'll figure it out.
We'll get in it. We'll get it.
We'll get it going. But hey, thank you so much for joining us this morning, Dana and Debbie. Appreciate you both.
Yeah, definitely. So with that, let's before we get to playoff. Let's talk our predictions. So let's talk. Or do we want to come back to that?
We will give our OU-OSU predictions in the next segment. Let's do that.
Okay, cool.
So the CFP though, just real quick. CFP comes out.
First poll out. Came out.
First poll. That's
was it Monday?
Right. It came out Tuesday.
Tuesday. Halloween.
Okay. Let's just.
And some people were scared.
The top two. Okay. I'm pulling it all down. Here we go. Okay. So. Oh, oops. That is not the right website. So, what do you think about Georgia being number 1 over Alabama?
I'm totally okay with it as far as their resumes go, and that's kind of what you're gonna see this playoff committee base their rankings on, which I think is fair. It's not the BCS, it's not plugging the numbers and this team, but it's pretty similar to the BCS as far as how the rankings would pull out. So Alabama has absolutely demolished almost every single person that they've played this year, but they haven't played. They don't have the caliber of teams that Georgia has up to this point. And now that's not going to matter as far as the rankings. If you're Alabama, that is okay. You're going to play Georgia realistically in in the SEC championship if you do what you need to do and Georgia does what they need to do. So I'm okay with that because I love the idea that they're looking at teams' resumes and it's not just the bias of Alabama is the best team. They look like the best team. They're in the SEC, kind of have that bias going on. They really do have the best resume up to this point.
Yeah,
so I'm okay with that.
I agree. I completely agree. I think now maybe by the end of the year it shakes out differently, but that's not what we're looking at right now. We're looking at what they've done up to this point, who they beat, who they played, how they've looked, and Georgia has looked scary good.
Yeah, they definitely have. They definitely have looked up to the part, and I think it is one of those things where you look at Alabama and you can probably say you can beat any college football fan unless they say, man, they look like the best team in the country. They're destroying everyone. But that's what we're saying. Even though they look that way.
Against great competition. Yeah.
Yes. What this committee is basing these rankings on is your resume. It is what you have done collectively. And so, I'm totally fine with Georgia being number 1.
And anyone who tries to say, well, Alabama beat Florida State at the beginning of the year. Oh, you mean the 2-5, 2-6 Florida State right now? They're not very good. They're not very good. They're just not this year. And I know they had some turmoil at first. I get all that. But I'm just saying they're not very good. Because you know what? Miami had to deal with some of the same hurricane situation, and Miami's doing really well. Now, I don't agree with Miami being ranked number 10 in this entire lineup. That's a little ludicrous.
Yeah.
The fact that TCU is ranked above Miami and Wisconsin both, I know that there may be a strength of schedule question, but I'm sorry. Miami to me is a better team than TCU right now at this point in time.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And who did Miami just play recently that they just beat? Is it Washington State? Is Miami Washington State? Is that what I'm thinking of?
I don't think they played Washington State.
I think it was just this past week. I don't know why I can't think of this, but they definitely have a quality win on their schedule. Let's go down and talk next. So Alabama's number 2, rightfully so. Notre Dame,
number 3.
Clemson. I'm okay with that. Notre Dame has some wins.
Just hate Notre Dame.
They just beat USC. I know we've talked time and time again how we feel about USC.
Yes, I hate them too.
But as far as the national spotlight, they've got that going on. Clemson obviously lost to Syracuse. That was the kind of the asterisk on their mark. But man, so looking at that, let's think about this ranking, because Clemson and Oklahoma, you can make the argument right now that Oklahoma, as far as their resume, has a better resume than Clemson.
And a lot of people were talking about that. And the more that I heard that argument, because I was on the other side of that saying, no, OU's not. But you know what? The
let me
that
say
we've
this.
gone down that path.
Let me say this. When I'm talking about that, I do not think that Oklahoma is a better football team than Clemson. I just don't think that. But as far as the resume goes, and how they rank these teams, like, you could make the case for Oklahoma to be number 4, to be in that 4th spot right now over Clemson.
Yeah.
Because of their wins. They have a quality win over Ohio State. Now, that really probably is the only one that is just an awesome win. But their loss is better. Their losses, Iowa State, currently ranked number 15 in the poll. So that's a loss that when it initially happened, I thought was an absolutely embarrassing loss. But it's turned out to be, Iowa State's kind of come on of lately and are now 15 in the poll. So that's wild.
Yeah, most definitely. No, I agree with that. And, with the way that Clemson, who they lost to and who they've beaten, whom they've beaten, Oklahoma does have a better resume. I mean, just point blank. They beat Ohio State earlier in the year, and they lost to an Iowa State team, which we're finding out is a really, really good team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe they're not great, but they're a really, really good team.
Yeah.
Better than probably what Syracuse has shown up to this point.
And that's probably really the only quality win, and that's where I could see it is Clemson's probably played a couple more teams. Oklahoma really only has Ohio State, and then Tech is kind of your next best win. Even Texas is currently 4-4 right now, so they're not like a team that's going to be considered a quality win up to this point. So I can understand that. Now, going down after Oklahoma, man, it really is a wash for who should be number 6 to number 13.
Well,
if you're looking at it.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too. So NC State's playing Clemson this week, and I expect them to get just absolutely dominated by Clemson. I feel bad for NC State because back-to-back weeks they had the number 3 and number 4 teams. What wound up being the number 3 because they just played Notre Dame. Then they got to play Clemson this week. But Notre Dame has to play at Miami of Florida in 2 weeks. Okay, they have Wake Forest this week and then at Miami, Florida in 2 weeks. We're going to get a very clear delineation of who is better. Like, it's just going to happen. Like, we're going to know in 2 weeks a lot better of what the final rankings are going to look like. Because if Notre Dame wins, they cement themselves unless they happen to stumble against Navy or Stanford, okay? If they do that, then we're going to be in a ride for Notre Dame. If they actually stumble, because then Notre Dame is going to be gone, and that's going to really make things crazy. But I'm just saying, whoever wins between Notre Dame and Miami, if they don't lose any other games on their schedule, they will be in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's kind of so everyone's going to freak out about the rankings right now. But if you're a team that's in this 13 spot,
you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah, you control your own destiny up to this point because some of these teams are going to face each other. They're going to play in the championship games. There's still, if you're in the Big 12, OU still has to play Oklahoma State, still has to play TCU. So, several different things could shake up. So it is the first one. Don't freak out too much by it. I know if you're an Oklahoma State fan, you're disappointed being that low, and that is kind of just how it is up to this point. Because there's just not a ton of quality wins for Oklahoma State. The only team that they played that would be considered that was TCU, and unfortunately that was the team that they lost to. So I understand that, and then obviously just the name really comes into it because out of all these teams, you have Miami, Wisconsin, TCU beat you, Penn State, Ohio State. Those teams they're going to be considered, nationally the better programs when you're comparing just the name of the program. And so I'm sure there's definitely some bias that's going into that, and that's unfortunate for Oklahoma State, but you still control your own destiny. If you beat Oklahoma, you're going to see a big jump this week for Oklahoma State.
If you beat Oklahoma, you get into the top 7, top 6.
Easily.
And then at that point, man, all bets are off.
I think you'd jump to 8. I think you take TCU's place. So I'm not
TCU go up then?
No, I think they'd go down. Maybe just jump to 9.
Well, I don't know. Oklahoma State, if they beat OU this weekend, they will show a lot to the voters, I think. And I think it's just going to help their case.
Mm-hmm.
If Oklahoma wins, I think they become number 4 next week. Because then they will have beaten a number 11 Oklahoma State, whereas Clemson will have only beaten a number 20 NC State.
Mm-hmm. And you need Iowa State to win this week. Are they playing TCU? No, they just beat TCU.
I'd have to look. They're playing West Virginia? I think it's West Virginia.
I think that's right.
I'll have to take a look.
Oh, I have the schedule right here.
What we'll do is we're going to roll to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to make our NCAA weekend predictions. Yeah, predictions. That's the word. We'll talk about that and more here on 3rd and 1 Live on your Friday morning drive. Again, if you have not checked out our YouTube channel, you need to search for it, Crossover Space Radio. Hit the filter button in the upper right-hand corner. Click channels, because you can filter by channels when you're looking at types, and it will be one of the top 2 or 3. Okay, go to it, subscribe. If you don't have a YouTube account, it's really easy, because if you just have a Google account or if you have a Gmail account, anything like that, you just log in with that and you're done. You don't have to actually sign up for anything. And if you don't, it's really quick and easy to sign up for an account anyways, and we'd appreciate the love and support on that as we try to build our YouTube live channel. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We'll be right back after these short messages from our sponsors.
Hey, newly engaged couples, are you tired of the same ho-hum, boring wedding reception every weekend? Don't you want yours to be the party everyone's talking about 3 months later? Then give us a call today at BTP Productions. We offer online planning forms, the best OKC DJs, lighting and sound packages, ceremony packages, and anytime consultations. We put you in total control of your party so you get your reception your way. Call us today at 405-609-9980. That's 405-609-9980. Or find us on Facebook. That's BTP Productions. The right music, the right DJ equals BTP Productions. Call today.
Crossover Radio is the best station I have ever listened to, even over other Christian stations. They are such a blessing. God uses this radio station that God started through the DJs and everyone on there to bless us and to show us Him.
Do you love coffee? Does your church, office, or business need coffee? What about getting amazing quality coffee at home from a business that serves our community and the world? Grounds for Compassion can meet your needs. The amazing staff at Grounds for Compassion would love to connect with you. There are 14 varieties, so you can't go wrong. Check out Grounds for Compassion on Facebook, Instagram, or at g4c.coffee, where you can place your order. Grounds for Compassion, coffee with conviction.
Crossover Radio, radio with a purpose.
Welcome back on 3rd and 1 Live on your Friday morning drive. That's right. Man, listen to some beats from our very own Jeremy Coleman. Man, he can definitely make some music. He's really, really talented.
Oh yeah.
You know that, right? Because he was you were one of his students.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In Bristow.
I was. Yeah. We actually did some music together.
Very nice.
Yeah. We had a little youth band, played some youth music. So.
Were you a part of the youth group then? Whenever I went to Falls Creek with you guys.
Probably.
Okay, I'm just curious.
I'm not sure
because my wife and I went as sponsors one year.
His first year there was my senior year.
Oh, okay.
So
I think it was the year after.
So I probably was still at the Fall Street like as a sponsor or something, but I only came for like a day. So if you came for a day, it may have been the day that I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because I remember him saying one of my buddies came down.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think I actually saw you specifically.
Okay.
So.
Well, because I know that also Haley James, who's a part of this station now, and doing really, really good work. She had sent a message because she was needing some material, and she goes, "Hey, I remember you and your wife whenever you guys came down and were sponsors at Falls Creek," and I was just like, man.
Were you guys there for the whole week?
My wife was there for a whole week a couple of different times. I was only able to be there for a whole week one time, but I got to do some preaching and stuff. So
cool.
But anyways, it was funny because I was just like, man, I don't know
maybe
if I feel old or what. So
maybe I'm not too sure. So, but yeah. So we definitely did some music. He's super talented. in just about, several different scenarios. The guy can rap. He can create music, play guitar, drum.
He can kind of sing too.
Yeah, kind of sing. So definitely talented. So
no, very, very, very talented. Hey, one thing I wanted to let our listeners know about: there's a new show coming on our station. Okay, and I know everyone's like, "Man, another one?" Well, yeah, we got to fill up spots, right? We still got some open spots. And we're filling that over time. And we have had an association, and it's actually one of my good friends from high school. Really, really good, solid Christian man. He is my brother. I love the guy. His name is Zach Lowe. He and his buddy Craig Hofeld. They are part of the Thunder Guys, okay? They are the Thunder Guys.
Oh, cool.
They do some live tweeting, and we've had them call into the show at different times in the past. They do a lot of in-depth stuff. In fact, Zach and Craig do in-depth articles that they write on as far as for pregame and postgame for different things, not just Thunder, although they do that, and they do an excellent job of that, and they live tweet the game, and they have some really, really good stuff and some really funny stuff as well. But you can just find them at the Thunder Guys, or I think it's at the Thunder Guys. They're a really, really good, good tandem. They're fantastic in their coverage. But they're actually going to be doing a show. It's going to be called Thunder Things. Maybe it could possibly
Thunder
be
Things.
in the vein of like Stranger Things.
Oh, I get that. That's cool.
But the logo kind of looks like that. It's cool. It's a really, really cool logo. But it's Thunder Things with the Thunder Guys. And you can join them, the Thunder Guys, Zach Lowe and Craig Hofeld, on Tuesdays from 5 to 6 p.m. as they discuss all things related to Oklahoma City Thunder. And they'll talk about things like the most recent games, upcoming schedule, any of the Thunder news, and as well as just whatever else is going on in the NBA as well. They're super knowledgeable, and if you love the Thunder, you have to check out their show. There's not an option. If you love the Thunder, you have to check out their show. It's starting this upcoming Tuesday, and they're even going to be doing some post-game wrap-ups for us at times. It's going to be really, really cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah, super looking forward to that. And I figured our sports fans, our sports listeners would want to know about that as well. All right, so let's go ahead and finish up some of our NCAA predictions, things like that. I know we ran a little long in our last segment. We'll try to fast track these picks, so maybe we can just go down a list of some of these games, pick them. Then we'll give our OU-OSU pick at the very end.
Yeah, I got a couple comments that came in here on YouTube Live before we jump into that. Debbie said a couple different things. She talked about the rankings, talked about that we sound good on YouTube, so that's awesome. And then she said that she hopes I'm feeling better. Thank you so much, Debbie. I appreciate you for that. And then my mom said she was at the youth camp you were at, Evan, and that you and your wife were awesome. So
thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So that's nice. And then I got a text in from my buddy Mirazul. And he said he's watching, so shout out to Mirazul. Nice. That's one of my best buds. So glad you're listening to the show, buddy. So hope you have a good day at work. I know Friday you're out, you're a working man. So glad you're joining in and listening. So yeah, let's go into college football. Man, looking at the time, I don't know if we're gonna get into everything, and that's okay. It's a big week for OU and OSU fans.
It's a big week for just football. There's a lot of good games.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at some Penn State, Michigan State. Michigan State's playing decently up to this point, and that's going to be
I think Penn State's going to just smash them.
I do too. But hey, Michigan State at least beat Michigan. They got something. And Michigan, true. They're not what they were last year, but it could be. It's at Michigan State at 11 a.m. Trap game for Penn State. I feel like so. That's going to be my trap game of the week right there. Penn State, 11 a.m. at Michigan State.
You're gonna take Michigan State?
No, I'm just saying that's a trap game.
Gotcha,
I like to say, trap game of the week going on.
Yeah, that's right. What about Alabama versus LSU? Number 2 versus number 19 at Alabama.
Man, LSU is kind of coming on as of late, and that game that's kind of like OU-OSU, where it's usually always pretty close, no matter what.
Yeah.
LSU is going to give Alabama everything they have, regardless of the record. So it is in Tuscaloosa, 7:00 at Bryant-Denny. It's going to be, I think I'm still taking the Tide, but that is kind of it's a rivalry, and so anything can happen in it.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting one for sure. I think also as far as a different game to kind of look at besides OU-OSU. Clemson, NC State is an interesting one for me. It's at NC State, but I think what we saw last week, Clemson should destroy NC State.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're looking at the national playoff, just teams that are in the top 10, Notre Dame's playing Wake Forest. I expect them to run away with that. Georgia is playing South Carolina at 2:30. I expect them to win that for sure. An interesting one. Did you say Stanford, Washington State? I think that's kind of...
I haven't gotten into that one yet. Stanford, Washington State will be a good one.
Yeah. Ohio State's playing Iowa. I think that could be closer than most people expect. So I'm just going to go through...
Virginia Tech, Miami is another good one.
Yeah, that is really good.
Man,
so there are some good games this week. Oregon's playing Washington. Yeah, man, if you're a college football fan, let's go through, let's pick them real quick. And then I think we're going to get our man Jeremy Coleman.
Let's do it. I'm going to tell him about 5 minutes.
Okay.
So here in about 5 minutes, which means we got to rip through these games. So I'll list them off, and then we'll make our picks.
Okay, cool.
All right. So first one, top of the order, LSU at Alabama.
Bama.
Bama, myself as well. Clemson at NC State.
Clemson. Yep.
All right. I'm with you on that one. We'll do Oklahoma State later. Let's see here. Penn State at Michigan State.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take Michigan State. Woo! That's gonna be my upset. I gotta get upset in. So
I can't do it.
That's fair.
I'm gonna go Penn State on that one. Virginia Tech at Miami. You know how I feel about Miami.
Yeah.
You know who I'm picking.
I'm taking Miami too.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. What was the other one? Oh, Arizona at USC. I'm going to take Arizona for this one.
Okay. Upset pick. I like that pick. I'm taking USC still.
Okay.
What is Arizona's record up to this point?
6-2.
6-2. USC 6-2 as well?
USC is 7-2.
7-2. Okay. Ooh, that's a good game. Yeah, I'm still going to take USC, but I like that pick. I like the upset pick by you right there.
Thank you. Stanford at Washington State.
What are their records? I know you can see on yours right there.
Their records are 6-2 at 7-2.
Oh, man, that is a good game, too.
Tough.
I'm going to take Stanford. I like Bryce Love, but, man, Washington State's playing pretty good.
I'm going to go Washington State.
Okay.
I'll sit on the other side of that one across the aisle from you because I think that is a I think it's going to be a good game. I'm not saying it's a shoe-in for Washington State. I'm just saying I think Washington State will get the upper hands. And last but not least, OU at OSU. What is your pick?
Here we go here. Man, with Baker Mayfield in this series, I think when it comes to what has happened in the past couple of years, if you look at it, special teams has been the deciding factor in this game. If we think back to these games that have gone on, 2015, there's a big Jalen Saunders touchdown on punt return. Last year, there was a Alex Ross. No, not last year. What am I thinking? Oh, Big Joe Mixon return in 2016 on a kickoff return. 2014, when they won last, they had the Tyreek Hill punt return at the end of the game that won the game. 2013 is when you had the fake field goal with Jimmy Stevens. And so I think looking at the units, I think Oklahoma has a better special teams unit. I think that they're going to be the team that if you're looking for someone to break off something big, it's probably going to be Oklahoma. Their field goal games and their punt game is looking a little better up to this point in the season. So for me, I'm going to take the special teams on this one. I'm going to take Oklahoma, but I don't have a ton of confidence in that because like we've said, if the defense does not slow down Mason Rudolph and those receivers, it is going to be a long, long night. So I expect Oklahoma State to put up some points, but I'm taking Oklahoma.
Yeah, and whenever I go to an OU-OSU pick, right, I try to not be that OU fan, right? I try to be very, very balanced, and I try to at least be fair. And so sometimes what I'll do is I'll go into it saying I want to pick Oklahoma State, okay? Because that helps me just balance myself out. And then I try to talk myself down from that, hey, is there a reason why it can't be that? Is there a reason why I shouldn't pick them? And I get into it.
I mean, they are the favorite right now in Vegas by 3 points. So
really,
yeah,
I almost want to take them. I'm with you. I just can't see with man, because our secondary is only hurt more if the D-line can't penetrate and get to the backfield. But that's the problem for OSU. If they had an offensive line, I would probably take OSU right now. If they had any kind of a real offensive line, I would probably take OSU. But they just don't. And so I think that with that, and with Mayfield and his ability to escape pressure, and the fact that they have one of the better offensive lines in the country, they have a solid running game, they have a good receiving core, not great totally, but good receiving core. CeeDee Lamb can light you up, and I just think that all that combines, you're gonna see a really good a showing by OU. I think it'll be a really close match. It wouldn't surprise me if the difference is 3 points, but I'm taking it in favor of OU.
Man, I agree with you there. I tell you what, before we dive any more into that breakdown, I think we really can. I have a couple more things I want to say, but let's get Jeremy on the phone.
Let's do this. We got 1 minute. Let's roll to a break real quick. That way we can squeeze one since we went a little bit long in the last one, and then we'll actually we'll get him on the phone. And right out of the break, we'll be talking with our very own Jeremy Coleman about all things Bedlam football. And maybe a little bit of a World Series recap, too, because we need to get into that as well. We'll be right back after these short messages from our sponsors.
City Life Community Church is the proud home of Crossover Radio. We are located at 6634 Northwest 36th Street, right here in the heart of Bethany. You can join us for worship at 11 a.m. each Sunday, and if you can't make it, you can hear us right here on Crossover Radio. You can also join us for worship and prayer each Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. City Life exists to glorify God by making disciples and doing good in Jesus' name. We are here for Bethany and for the Northwest Oklahoma City communities. We're excited about the opportunity to serve you and your family.
Would your business, organization, or ministry like to connect with our listeners? Crossover Radio is seeking amazing like-minded partnerships to impact our community. Crossover Radio has cheap and affordable sponsorship packages available now. Call us at 405-494-0234 so we can help connect you with thousands of listeners every week right here on Crossover Radio. Again, that number is 405-494-0234. Call us today.
Tired of taking up a seat in church or just watching a production? Join us Sunday at West Metro Community Church in Yukon, a place where your life matters and you are more than a number.
We are located at 601 West Main Street in Yukon, and our worship service is at 1045 on Sunday. For additional information on our student ministry, men's, women's, and mixed small group Bible studies throughout the week, find our information at www.westmetro.org.
Come be a part of a church where all are welcome.
Crossover Radio, radio with a purpose.
All right, you are back here on 3rd and 1 Live on your Friday morning drive, and we got the one and only, the Jeremy Coleman. Jeremy, how are you doing this morning, brother?
Well, don't refer to me as the Jeremy Coleman, because that makes me think of the Donald, and anyway. So
fair enough.
But yeah, no, man, I'm good. I enjoyed, and I know we're going to get into this in a minute, but I enjoyed watching the finish to the World Series, and man, I tell you what, it was one of the best series in a long time, and but yeah, man, I'm excited about Bedlam. I heard you guys just talking about that.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting game, I think, on Saturday. How everything shakes out will be definitely I think a seal to what's going to happen the rest of the year. I think if OSU wins, they go on a high and they finish out the season strong. I think if OU wins, they still got a couple of battles, but I think that they can still get through it and vault themselves into the playoffs. Because here's the situation, and maybe you can comment on this as well. Clemson right now is the only one sitting above them as far as that's kind of, there's some questions just because of record. Now, we're not talking about which team is actually better, but we're also talking about record. What have they done on their resume? The teams are close enough that it's necessary to talk about it. And then you got a Clemson playing at NC State, but OU's playing Oklahoma State. I think this would actually help vault OU into the top four if they win, especially if they win handily over Oklahoma State.
Yeah, well, and I think, when you talk about Clemson, that Syracuse loss is not going to get any better.
Yeah.
It's a bad loss. That Iowa State win just keeps looking better and better all the time.
It does.
And of course, the Ohio State win looks good too, and it continues to look better because Ohio State keeps winning big games, especially this past weekend against Penn State. So, OU's resume is getting better thanks to the teams that they've played.
Definitely.
So, when everybody was like, oh my gosh, this Iowa State loss is a miserable loss. Like, I cannot believe they lost to Iowa State. Well, now you're talking about a top 25 team that's headhunting everybody.
Oh, yeah. We said that here, too. I remember having, the college football woes after that game because I was just like, man, this is one of the worst losses in the last 10 years for OU. And so it's crazy how that narrative has changed just because they've been playing really, really well since that game with Matt Kemp that came in, their new quarterback, and their defense is stepping up. Right. So, man, it's been wild. Really quick, Tony Williams said, "Good morning, Dustin and Evan." We wanted to give a shout out to Tony. And
we've been getting comments all morning from David Carroll. Definitely appreciate you listening to the show as well. It's been fun chatting back with you back and forth. But I think that OU. If we're looking at the whole game, what we both landed on was, although we think that there are a lot of areas that OSU has some upper hand, we still there are some things we couldn't get around that OU just does better, and their O-line way better, and their quarterback is able to escape pressure. I mean, and the gap between OSU's receiving core, if you're including tight ends, the gap between OSU's receiving core and OU's receiving core is not that big. And if you're looking at all that playing out, there's not a huge difference on that front. Now, I do think that OSU's defense, and we were talking, both Dustin and I talked about this, we think that OSU's defense is better. But what are your thoughts on all that?
I agree with that last thing for sure. I think OSU's defense is a lot better. And I think that's going to factor. It's going to matter. The other thing you got to keep in mind is that this. I know it hasn't mattered a lot in the past. I feel like it's going to matter more this year, but they're playing in Stillwater, and this OSU team is probably one of the best ones since probably at least that year that they lost in Ames late in the season.
Yeah,
to go, play for a national title. Yeah. So I mean, I really like Mason Rudolph in this game, just because I think he's got a lot of focus and a lot of composure. Sometimes, with Baker and all of the skills that he has, and just his ability, I think this year he's been a little bit of a distraction. And now, I don't necessarily mind that competitive, cocky edge. Like, I think it's good at times. So, if you're asking me that I think that stuff's out of place or whatever, I really don't. But I also think that I think the basics probably going to have his guys a little bit more ready. It's going to be a really, really close game. So both of you guys picked Oklahoma, right? By 3 or 7 or something like that.
Yeah, for me, it's it wouldn't surprise me if it's a 3-point difference. I don't think it's a lot of difference, and I definitely could see OSU winning. There were some things there with regards to how OU handles things on the offensive line, and because I think that overall, even though OSU's defense is better than OU's, I don't think that defense is gonna ultimately be the deciding factor in this game because both offenses are so dynamic.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just had a funny text that just came in. My friend Mirzal, who went to OU, said Sooners by 100. So there's no bias there. But looking at this, there's a couple things that looking in Oklahoma's favor that I just can't ignore. Two of those things is the quarterback play in big games. Mason Rudolph, typically in this series. Between Mayfield and Rudolph has not shown up to this game. He's played fantastically throughout the rest of this year and then kind of just laid an egg. And now going back to Oklahoma State's defense, looking at some of the teams that they've played, yes, I do think that unit is better than Oklahoma's. But looking at some of the elite offenses that they've played, TCU, 31 points. Texas Tech, 34 points. West Virginia, 39 points. And so they have played well against the teams, the Baylor, the Texas, South Alabama only scored 7. But against some of those offenses that are kind of next tier, they're still giving up 30 points. And so I would think, looking at those teams, that Oklahoma's offense is going to be better than West Virginia, going to be better than Texas Tech.
Keep in mind that this past weekend they did give up 39 points to West Virginia, but 14 of those points were special teams mishaps, and one was
and we talked about that,
right?
And one was a pick six.
Mm-hmm.
That's also a concern, right? Like if you're looking at it,
absolutely.
Man, special teams is.
And what I was going to say, is I would be more concerned. I would be less concerned about OSU's defense, and I would be more concerned about. And I think Dustin hit the nail on the head in the last segment when I was listening in. That special teams plays a huge part in this game, and I don't necessarily know if it's going to be OU's special teams making a big play, as far as like turning a punt or something like that, or if it's going to be OSU's special teams botching something.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have struggled on that front, and but yeah, you're right. It's concerning as far as the defense. Defense played really well in Morgantown last week. But they did give up a pick six, and they did give up a touchdown in the end zone on a bad snap on a punt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. There are just so many things to even talk about with it, with regards to also the running backs and just how both teams have stellar. If you're talking about the whole collective group, both teams have stellar running back play. And they're able to definitely scare teams with whomever they put on the field. I mean, if you're talking about some of the bigger boys, if you're talking about J.D. King for OSU, or you're talking about now Sermon probably won't get as many touches now that Rodney Anderson is playing. But Rodney Anderson is able to consistently get you still 3 to 4 yards, whereas Abdul Adams is more of your home run. And that's the same thing with J.D. King and Justice Hill. That's that same kind of duo. That's the same kind of tandem that you have to respect each one, but you have to respect each one differently. So with one player, your linebacker's got to play up closer, and with the other one, you got to be scared to death that he's going to run at 99 yards down your throat. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how each defensive coordinator adjusts during the game, because I felt like last week we saw that Mike Stoops did a really, really good job of adjusting in game, and a better job than what he's done in previous games, to where he adjusted in game, and really after that first quarter, they shut Texas Tech down. I mean, it wasn't even close.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. And I don't know if they're getting hot at the right time, or
if it was just
Mike Stoops is,
I think,
just been into the well of wealth and knowledge or something, and took a magic sip. I don't know.
I think Mike Stoops is finally realizing that this team plays better in the 4-3 than the 3-4, and he has really wanted to push the 3-4 on because it makes your defense more athletic. But the thing is, in this league, when you have the pass-happy teams, you absolutely have to get pressure.
Get penetration.
Yeah, you've got to get pressure on the quarterback, or they are going to pick. They are just going to nitpick their way down the field and take what you give them. And if you sit back in umbrella defense coverage 4-3, you're just going to give someone little 5-yard hitches, and eventually, when you bring your cornerbacks up to press, they're going to hit you over the top. And so I think he's finally realizing this team, who has edge rushers and has the ability to get to the quarterback, that if I allow them to do that and I dial up some blitzes, then maybe we can get some stops. So I think it will be an And I don't know. I don't think that he's going to have the coverage. It seems like he is typically a coordinator that game plans specifically for what teams show him. And then when a team comes out and shows something differently, he doesn't realize that, I need to make a change until halftime.
Yeah.
And so, I fully expect that to be the case, that I think Oklahoma State's going to come out and light up that defense for at least the first quarter. And so maybe he makes the adjustment then, but that's just typically how Mike Stoops' MO has been, that he makes an adjustment, but he will stick to his game plan for what he's done to the week
until he almost
fault.
dies, and sometimes it costs him the game, and that's one of the most frustrating things. But what is your pick? What is your pick for that game? I mean, who do you think is going to come out on top when the dust settles and everything's said and done? Who do you think is going to come out on top, and what's the score prediction for you?
Yeah, I think you could flip a coin and have as good of a chance with this ball game. If it was in Norman, I would pick Oklahoma. But
yeah, that's fair.
Since it's in Stillwater, a little bit of home advantage there, obviously.
Is it though? Because OU's win percentage is actually better in Stillwater.
Here we go.
Than it is in Oklahoma.
Yeah, but when you beat a team like 86 times out of 100 meetings or something like that.
No, that was my shot. I had to throw out one shot this game or this segment, so I've been good the whole time. So there's my one shot.
Oh my God!
All day.
You only get one shot. Don't miss your chance. Okay, sorry.
That's right. But yeah, opportunity comes once in a lifetime. So. Yeah, I'm going to take OSU. I'm going to take OSU by, I'm going to call it a possession or less. So I'm going to say 7 or less.
Okay.
And I think we could see anything in this game.
Yeah.
Either quarterback could just go nuts. I'm telling you this: if one quarterback has just a mind-blowing night in Bedlam, they will vault themselves to the top with Saquon Barkley in the discussion of the Heisman.
Yeah, I mean, Saquon, he laid an egg last week, and so if you're looking at that, I mean, these two guys, even though they had the losses, like they haven't really played a bad game up to this point between Mason Rudolph and Baker Mayfield, and so only having 49 yards on what was it, like 20 attempts?
I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. I think he took himself out with that game.
I don't know if he took himself out. I think he's no longer like the guy.
Yeah, the unspoken. Everyone in the country thinks he should win. Yeah, I'm with you there. And I'm also. I think we can respect your pick too, and that's where you have to be. I think if you are a realistic fan. It is
of either team.
Yeah, you're like, man, I think it can go this way. I want to say it's Oklahoma because of Baker Mayfield, or I want to say it's OSU because of Mason Rudolph and it being in Stillwater. But man, it's some of those fans that are just like, man, this is Oklahoma's year, or this is Oklahoma State's year. They're going to go out and destroy them. Like I don't understand how you get to that pick, and so I can respect the idea that I think Vegas has. Those odds pretty good. They have Oklahoma State by 3 right now, and I think that's where you're kind of looking. Is it should be a tough pick for sure.
Yeah, and I think this is when people can legitimately make a cautious homer pick. You know what I mean? Like there are some years that you look at the matchup and you go, if you pick your own team, you're dumb because they're terrible. And and a lot of years, and I hate to say it, a lot of years that's been. If you're picking Oklahoma State for any other reason than you're just an Oklahoma State fan, this is stupid. Like, OU's clearly better, from top to bottom. But this year, I think it is such a coin flip that if somebody comes out and goes, like you were saying, if somebody goes, my team's going to win by 49 points.
Yeah.
It sounds stupid and uneducated.
Yeah.
But if you go, you know what, I think, because I agree with you guys, like, you guys come out and go, yeah, we're OU guys, and we think OU can win by 3 or 7 or whatever. That's a fair pick because it can happen. But I just like Mason Rudolph at home, and I think to one of the points you said earlier, Dustin, about the fact that he hasn't played well in this game. I think he's going to be motivated to play well in this game. So I mean, we'll see, and he may press and make some mistakes. Guys do that too. But I'd like to see him play well. Honestly, I want to see it go down to the last snap. I really do. Because I just like good football. So
yeah, my blood pressure will definitely be up if that happens. So I'm gonna say I hope it doesn't. But I can understand any college football fan would want that, and that's how it's been. I mean, in the past 5 years, there's been several games. I mean, it's come down to the fourth quarter, and so I do think it will. I mean, I think you're gonna see fight from both teams. But man, I'm excited. It's a fun weekend to watch if you're an Oklahoma fan of football at all. And like we said, I mean, Oklahoma State, you guys that are watching out there, you have some you have some optimism going in this year, and we've talked about it from the beginning of the year that the combination of Mason Rudolph and those receivers, Marcel Aitman and James Washington, and even Stoner's come on recently, and they have McCleskey. Man, that is, in my opinion, it's best
a nasty core
combo, of wide receivers and quarterback in the nation.
Yeah,
and so, man, I don't know if Oklahoma State's or if Oklahoma's going to be able to slow that down, nonetheless stop it. So
yeah, with that terrible backfield, the D-backs are so bad. The secondary is so bad. Yeah. I said backfield, secondary. With that terrible secondary, it is just so bad. I can't even. My inner white girl is going to come out. I can't even. It's so bad.
Yeah,
it's so bad.
Yeah, if you're Oklahoma, you have to hope that Obo Okoronkwo is just going to absolutely pester Mason Rudolph all night. That's like your. This could be our saving grace as a defense, because that's how it's been in the past couple of years. That Obo, this has been a game that Obo has really stood out and given Rudolph and that offensive line trouble. And so I think you're going to see Oklahoma State really focus on Obo.
Yeah.
So it just, that's really, I think, what the game's going to boil down to is can they get pressure or not, and then also can Oklahoma State getting Baker Mayfield's head, because I don't think we've really seen a team do that up to this point in the season.
Yeah.
Even looking back to the Iowa State loss, they scored 31 points, right? And it seemed like Baker still had a pretty decent day. So I just don't know if we've seen a team do that up to this point, and I think Oklahoma State could be the team to do it. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, most definitely. Hey, what about the World Series? Just real quick, what were your thoughts? Just some kind of closing thoughts from you on how the World Series went down. That Game 7 to me was so disappointing compared to the rest of the series. I was kind of a little bit sad to see it end that way.
Well, I know everybody wanted to see it go into the bottom of the ninth with high drama. Going to extra innings with high drama. I thought that Game 7 was just classic Houston baseball that we've seen all season long from them.
Yes.
By the way, I just want to say that the last time I was on the show, I think the last time I was on,
we gave him,
right? I picked him in 7.
Yeah,
so
you did. Yeah.
So I'll take take all the money we bet.
You get all the 3rd&1 dollars, the bucks.
All the 3rd&1 dollars are those like Shroot bucks?
Yeah, they're like exactly like Shroot bucks and Stanley Nichols.
Yeah, no monetary value at all. I was excited about it. I enjoyed Game 5 just because I'm kind of one of those guys that I really enjoy watching the coaching decisions that happen in those situations that are kind of different. So when you go up by 5 early like that, how are you going to manage your pitching staff? What are you going to do? And so I thought Adrian Hitch managed that game really, really well to make sure to keep the LA bats quiet, because as soon as those guys, once they get going, they can put a lot of runs on the board fast.
Yeah,
man.
It is crazy. They had one of the best postseasons ever. As far as their numbers went, and then they get to, it kind of reminded me a lot of like the Patriots back when they went undefeated in the year. They had a fantastic season, had a great postseason. Were actually just slugging, and then they get to the championship series there, and they don't necessarily lay an egg. It's not like that, but it gets close, and they don't play. Their numbers, their averages were lower than they've been throughout the season and throughout the year, and man, it just kind of seemed like really Houston was that team of destiny this year, and it was hard not to root for Houston. I mean, with everything that's going on in that city and Jose Altuve and
and Houston was definitely kind of felt like a team of destiny, and that's why I wanted to see them win it. After they bumped my Bo Sox out, I was kind of pulling for the Astros just because of that reason. But keep in mind, this Houston team is no New York Giants. They squeaked into the playoffs that year in a wild card berth, and just got lucky at the right time, and Eli decided to not throw the ball to the other team for a minute. And
that's true.
Which he has not figured out much since. But I think that you got to keep in mind this Houston team won 101 baseball games this year. I mean, they were. They were the best team in the National League, and the American League, and this is the first time in a long time that we saw two teams with 100+ wins playing the World Series against each other. So I mean, the whole entire series was historic. I mean, it was just it's what you would want as a baseball fan, and I think there were a lot of people who were not baseball fans that I saw, especially on social media and stuff, like, wow, this series is amazing. So it lived up to hype, and I think Major League Baseball was. At least their pocketbooks were happy because I think they were getting viewers. So
yeah, no, I'm with you. I think if New York would have been able to pull it out with their bats in that Houston series, I think the Dodgers would have killed New York. And I mean, I think they would have thrashed New York. Houston was just kind of getting behind the 8-ball in that American League series, and I think that I'm glad that they won. I'm glad that the city of Houston has this. I really am. I just feel heartbroken for Kershaw. I mean, it hurts me to see Kershaw not get that. I don't know if you saw his comments, but he's like, just maybe one of these days, I won't fail in the season. It's like, dude, it wasn't even your fault.
Which is ridiculous because he came in and relieved Darvish.
Yes,
the reason they lost.
And he played Game 5.
Darvish lost 2 games in the World Series.
Yes.
Yeah, Darvish lost 2 games in the World Series, and Kershaw came in and cleaned up Darvish's mess in Game 7 on short rest.
Yes.
And gave up like one base runner, I think.
Yeah,
like that's
it.
So.
And here's the other thing with Darvish. My prediction is this series is going to mess Darvish up. I don't think he's mentally tough. I really don't. I just really don't think he's mentally tough. I think whenever Gurriel tipped his hat to him, you could see like there's this expression on Darvish's face where instead of just being like, "Hey, it's all good," don't worry about it. He just like. It's just like, dude, like calm down. Like just pitch the ball. Yeah. But I think he has all the talent in the world physically. He just has it. Pitching is so much more mental than I mean, I'm not saying it's all mental, but when you get to that level,
absolutely right.
It is so mental. I mean, those guys have to be insane because they have to it's like a quarterback. When you throw a bad pass, you got to be able to come back out and respond in a different way. Whenever you have pressure on your back, you got to be able to stand up and go deliver the ball on the next play. And that's the problem. It's the same thing for baseball for pitchers, in my opinion. Whenever they get on that mound and they give up a home run or an error even happens, which is what happened to Darvish. It was an error, not his fault. Yeah. And he just did not recover well, in my opinion. I think Darvish is going to see a downturn in his career.
Yeah, and then he just never could get back over the hump, and then George Springer, decided to be George Springer in this series, which, by the way, that guy is ridiculous.
He tied the amount of most home runs, Reggie Jackson and Chase Utley. That's it.
Isn't that incredible? It's insane, man.
The Houston team is scary.
It was great here. Yeah, no, that Houston team is very scary. But remember here a few years ago, BC for us, Evan, before kids. So before children, rather. I guess kids start with a C.
I was wondering. I was like, I'm gonna let it go.
before children, we went down to Houston, and that was like right after they had called Jose Altuve out. And I remember you and I were sitting at that ball game. And by the way, that is a great place to catch a game, and that is a home field advantage.
One of the coolest ballparks, in my opinion.
When they were talking about that stuff on TV, I was like, yeah, yeah, this place is crazy.
Well,
but
they were catching
no,
it where we sat, like where Puig
Yeah.
launched his shot that went out of this world. It landed up in that part of the stadium, and then Springer, I think, launched one into that same exact spot.
Yeah, he did. And so, but all of that said, I remember us sitting at that game, and Houston won that night. This was 4 or 5 years ago, but they were just starting to get some of those young pieces in, and we were like, I think this team's going to be good in a few years.
Yes.
And I remember having that.
They had
conversation.
Keuchel at that time too.
Yeah, they had Keuchel at that time too, but all those guys were so young.
Yeah.
And so now that they're going to be around for a long time.
Yes.
So anyway,
It was exciting.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I gotta run and get the daughter to school, but
I gotta roll and
anyway,
get to
it's
work.
been a lot of fun.
Yes.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Hey, Jeremy, it's been a lot of fun as
No
always.
problem, guys.
Yeah, we'll catch you
Yeah.
later.
All right.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Man, Dustin, it has been a lot of fun this morning. So many things that we've talked about. We've had so many viewers. I really appreciate all the viewers that we've had, and everyone who will watch this in the future. And we appreciate that very much. Continue to drop us comments. If we see comments, we'll respond to you, even if the show has already ended. So definitely shoot them toward us. We'd love to definitely chat with any of you who want to talk anything related to sports. And really, if you just have a theological bent and you want to talk about something about Scripture, we'd love to talk to you about that as well, because this is a Christian radio station, and glad to promote that very, very much. Man, this has been 3rd and 1 live on your Friday morning drive. Dustin, you excited for the weekend?
I am, man. I'm pumped. There's a lot of good football going on. We talked about that. We broke down some of the NCAA, but yeah, definitely. Like I said, if you're in Oklahoma and like either of the Oklahoma teams, then really this is the weekend. I know a lot of Oklahoma State fans that always get up for this game. So you have a lot to look forward to, and it's going to be a close one. It's going to be exciting. So yeah, I'm pumped for the weekend, and it's going to be a good one. So.
Awesome. Well, that sounds good. Well, hey, all of you 3rd and 1 listeners, may God bless you. May He keep you. May He make His face to shine upon you, and may He give you peace. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you on Monday. We're out.
Peace.